How's it going? Welcome back, my wonderful wise ones, to a fantastic video today. Today we're gonna find out, is Directive 8020 worth it? Well, here's the answer. I'm afraid I have to do the horrible YouTube thing where I have to bait you because I need that precious watch time. So please do actually watch until the end of the video if I actually recommend this game or not. But honestly, Directive 8020 is an interesting game, okay? And I say game because, let's be honest, okay? This developer, the people behind The Quarry, the people behind Until Dawn, they are basically filling the boots of previous development teams like Telltale Studios and stuff like that. And I absolutely love the older Telltale games, like The Walking Dead. It's actually one of the best video game stories. The best thing about these games is choice making, okay? That's what Until Dawn was. That's what The Quarry was about as well. But Directive 8020 is taking it to a whole new level because this is now much more of a sci-fi story than a horror-focused experience. This game studio, their whole speciality has been horror games before. They never truly really lean outside of the horror gaming genre, to be honest, but they are trying to do that with this. Now, this isn't to say that there aren't horror aspects in this. In fact, it is still very much a horror game, but it won't be as scary as those previous games.
What?
But you can't expect Directive 8020 to be as much of a horror-focused experience as their previous games because it is going for a kind of more atmospheric horror, a kind of cosmic horror, if you will, where it's unsettling because it's basically trying to do the thing, okay? Let's just be blunt. That's basically what's going on here. Now, calling Directive 8020 a video game might sound a little bit of a, kind of snarky point, I guess, because the reason I say this is because this is what some people call a walking simulator or an interactive movie. That's a better way to describe this type of game. Now, this just depends on the type of player you are. If you know what this game is, you're probably already interested in that type of video game. You're not going to be someone who's playing twin stick shooters or, bullet hells or deep RPGs and then, be surprised at what type of game this is. You need to understand that going in, this is a slow-paced game. This is very much an interactive movie. There are gameplay elements in here. It's much better than games like Telltale when it comes to gameplay, actual interaction. They are basically what's here are stealth elements in this game. Think of Alien Isolation, but much more stripped back and basic. There's also, some puzzles to solve as you hack into, terminals and stuff like that. There's going to be mini games to solve. There's some light combat, but the combat is usually quick time events, and I fucking hate quick time events. I'm sorry, it's just so brain dead, and literally, it's not fun. It's not a fun video game mechanic. It needs to die, okay? It should have died a long time ago, in my opinion. But here you are. It's in this game, and you're either gonna like that or you're not. But at least here, the QuickTime events actually have meaning, actually have some weight to them, because if you mess up, basically what this whole game is about is choices, like I said, and there are different branching paths, and if you mess up the QuickTime event too many times, your character could actually die. And think of games like Heavy Rain. Yes, the beloved Heavy Rain, because God knows that game was peak, and it was never memed upon.
Why'd he tackle it? Hey, watch
That was one of the first kind of games that introduced the idea of, having a story-focused game, but your characters could actually die, and you could play around with different characters and stuff like that. Obviously, it was done before, but it's going very much for that same style of gameplay. Where you are going to be playing different characters, you will have to choose what they do, how they react to something, if they mess up or not. But there are 2 modes in this game, which I'm kind of sad to see, honestly, and I'm basing all of this Directive 8020 review on an early access coverage, what I've actually seen as press when I went to a press event, and what has actually been shown to us. So bear that in mind. It's not the full experience. I'm doing an early access look. But honestly, from what I have seen, it doesn't fill me with a lot of hope. Because yes, because now you can actually play this game on easy mode. And that kind of defeats the whole point of a game like this. So at least it's optional. It's not baked into the fabric of the game. But a lot of people might opt for that without realizing just how much it strips back the experience. Because now you can just rewind and undo choices, which kind of defeats the point. But still, there is the survival difficulty, and I highly recommend you play it on that. Now, before we get into further details, I do hope you subscribe to the channel, become a wise one today if you enjoy early access reviews, deeper thematic look at video games and philosophical videos. You're in the right place. Subscribe, become a wise one, and give the video a like. It really does mean a lot to me. And finally, the quick shilling that I want to say most is check out the music that I make on Spotify. My new album, Divinity, has just released. I put 2 years into that album, a lot of work, a lot of passion. It's not like any soundtrack or music you've heard before. Please go listen to it. If you love, cosmic electronic music, I don't know how else to describe it, just go listen to it. Thank you so much. So some of the positives for this game, like I said, is they have leaned into more gameplay systems. So there are going to be stealth sections, very basic kind of, very basic level stealth gameplay where you're crouching around. You just have to avoid certain enemies. The best way to describe it is if you ever played the terrible stealth missions in the Spider-Man games, the recent Spider-Man games, it's kind of like that. So it's not a lot of fun. There's not many mechanics to it, but luckily you can actually mess up at times, and it doesn't go into combat per se, but there are moments where you can do a quick time event and take out an enemy. From what I've seen, that's kind of that. But it's not free-form, third-person combat or action or anything like that. It's about these big story moments where you have to make choices. But to me, what sets these games apart from Telltale, and this is a personal bias, so let me tell you that, because I try and be as objective as possible in my reviews, but honestly, it's the writing. Telltale was so good, early Telltale, at creating convincing characters and deep emotional writing that has a lot of weight behind them. Getting to know these characters, having then to choose between, who to save, who to let go, and all of this kind of stuff. Now, the writing for this, from what I've seen so far, it's decent, but the characters themselves don't seem to be as interesting. So we're just going to have to wait and see if that develops. And, it just doesn't have that same campy energy that the earlier games had with that, Quarry, with Until Dawn. The point was, it was like watching an 80s terrible movie flick, kind of horror flick. That's what made it fun and campy. This is going for hard sci-fi, and I'm not sure they've quite nailed it so far. But the big positive for this time is now your characters can actually be played in co-op, so you can actually play this game with your friends, controlling different characters, different choices. That makes it much more of an interactive, fun movie night experience with a group of friends if you want to do that. So that is, a big positive for this type of game, I would say. But honestly, the gameplay is just a bit stiff, and it feels, a bit janky. But the moments where it lands, where you have to actually make meaningful decisions, where you can actually control different characters and have different, ways of solving the same outcome. It's like those old adventure books where you would read and then, you have to skip to a certain page if you make that decision. It's one of those games that gets more and more fun the more times you play it, the more times you actually mess up to see these different outcomes, stuff like that. That's what this development team does best, in my opinion, is creating those tense choices and seeing those different outcomes, and having the ability to actually kind of mess up. Also, it does not skip out on the gore. This is going to be a very gory game. Like I said, the jump scares from what I've seen so far aren't actually as crazy. But what I do like about this game is the more you play it, the more you actually dig into the characters and, read and interact with the environment. Like I said, go into data banks and stuff like that, find out more information on certain characters. This is where the depth actually comes in, where the writing sometimes can't actually nail that when there's actual, scenes of them all talking with each other. It's kind of getting the knowledge and then going back, replaying it, and then you see all of the different outcomes and who these people actually are. That's what makes it a lot of fun, the discoverability of all of this kind of stuff. But the writing so far seems to be good, but not amazing. The characters seem a little bit flat compared to some of their previous games. It's lacking that it's lacking that kind of campy horror tone that the previous games had and make it kind of a fun popcorn, just interactive movie, game. Nothing groundbreaking in my opinion, nothing that has a much thematic depth or anything like The Walking Dead has about morality choices and stuff like that. It's a little bit more simplistic. And honestly, games like this were great maybe like 10 years ago, but honestly, there's no excuse that we can't have good gameplay like with Mass Effect, with story interaction like this, with choices like this. And the fact that it only really has one of those things and kind of lackluster gameplay, to me, is the real problem with this type of game. But I understand everyone's different. Some people like the fact that it's a kind of stripped back, simple experience. And for fans of the previous games, yes, I would say that Directive 8020 is worth it. And you're going to have a good time with this, but just expect less horror, janky stealth mechanics. That is what this game is going for. It's definitely leaning into stealth gameplay more, but there's also interesting things that happens that I can't really talk about. What this game truly is, I've got to be careful. What this game truly is psychological horror. And to me, that's actually more interesting in some ways, but it takes a while to get going. So the fact that I've only had early access with this and seen some of the early stuff, maybe you need to spend longer with this game. The psychological aspect is what makes this game different compared to the previous games, where that's much more about jump scare horror. This is more about who can you actually trust. Are these people actually who they say they are? That's what makes this game interesting. We've seen that done, better obviously in movies like The Thing and stuff like that, but we haven't seen that much in a video game. But the co-op mechanics actually need to lean into that a lot more. And from what I've seen, they don't really. It's more just about the choices and stuff. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. I would recommend it for fans of this type of game. But otherwise, I would say, just to give it a skip. But if you are a fan of this type of interactive movie video game, then yes, Directive 8020 is worth it. And only will get better the more hours you put into it, in my opinion. But there you go. I just wanted to do a quick Directive 8020 review, an early access coverage of this game, just to let you know what this game is all about, because the marketing for it has been quite confusing and not many people are talking about it. So I do hope you enjoyed this early access review. Let me know what you think about this game down below in the comments, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Have a great day. Peace out.